welcome to my channel where we do painting tutorials. For today I thought I'd do actually two paintings in my sketchbook, so I start by taping it down on the sides and then divide it into two equal sections. Mind you, the paper does look a bit buckled. That's because I've already painted on the other side. I'm trying to save up some paper by using both of the sides, and yes, you can paint on both sides. I add a couple of binder clips on the top and on the bottom because I have about 15 to 20 pages already done in the sketchbook, and it's making up some height so it won't lay perfectly flat. I start by applying a dark cadmium orange, I believe, to the bottom of the first one. I don't go all the way down because there will be a little black sketch there, so I'm just gonna paint it black later on. Then I take some dark yellow and color it over the orange till about midway of the sheet. I use less and less pressure as I move up, and then I switch to a phthalo blue, which is a very light blue color, and I use very little pressure around where the yellow ends and more pressure as I move up. That way I'm gonna get a nice gradient, because if I were to use lots of pressure where the two colors meet, once I activate them they're gonna look green. And I finish this off by adding some dark blue. I believe the specific shade is helium blue reddish, and then just a little bit of black to the top corners of the page. I make sure my brush is clean because I oftentimes forget it with some leftover paint. And I blend from light to dark, so I start from the light yellow, I work my way down horizontally towards the orange, clean my brush and start from the light blue towards the dark blue. Once I have that first blending completed, I go from the yellow towards the blue all the way up without stopping. That way it makes it much smoother. And while that dries, I start working on the second side. I leave this diagonal gap from the top right towards the bottom left, where will be the Milky Way, the galaxy, and I color all around it with my phthalo blue. Then I switch to my darker blue and I use that around the lighter one. This one will be very random, so I'm definitely not being precise with it. Then I add just a hint of black towards the sides and the top corners like I did with the previous one. And I fill in any gaps I've left with my blue color. Then with a clean brush I start blending again from light to dark. So from that very light section I left diagonally, I start tapping from there with my brush towards the light blue, the dark blue, and the black. I'm using a tapping motion rather than just going left to right like I did on the left side. Doing so is going to give me a lot of texture and it's going to give a lot of depth, which is what I want for painting this night sky. And you can even, once you've approached the dark blue and the black, you can even take it back to the light blue. It's just gonna build up more and more layers. It's gonna look nice. You don't have to worry about contaminating your colors with this technique. I blend out any specks of color I don't like and activate any patches that I have missed out. By now the orange one has already dried, so I take back my orange pencil and I sketch some clouds where the yellow starts. I'm just making like a big circle on the side and then making smaller and smaller circles as I move to the center. Very basic cloud shapes, absolutely nothing complicated. Then I switch. I thought I'd add a hint of red, so I just swirl on top of the clouds with it, just a very small speck of color. And then I switch to my dark blue and I repeat the same exact process but under the clouds. So I start by making a big circle and then swirling outwards towards the center of the painting, right beneath each cloud, just enough to give it a little shadow. By the way, all of the supplies used or mentioned will be listed down in the description box. You can always find a complete list under each tutorial that I do. Then I take a clean brush and again I start blending, activating the colors. I start from the red, the orange, and then swirl it down towards the blue. I'm using tiny circular motions for this, and I'm not pressing on the barrel at all. I'm barely using any water for this. I just want them to activate and be more vivid. I don't really want them to blend out into the yellow or something. I just gently go over them and then go backwards, activating that dark blue shadow that I added. If you're finding any use in these videos, please let me know by liking, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. It really helps support me as a creator and the production of these videos. Once I finish the clouds, I go over a basic sketch I've done. It's basically just random rectangles I've used to mimic a cityscape. If drawing is not your thing, you can find a digitized version of both the drawings for these paintings over at my Patreon page, Sunshine Arts. And it's available for all of the current tiers that I offer over there. Once I've sketched out the city line, I just fill it in with black. Then I move to the right side and sketch out some ground on the bottom, then make a tree that reaches about the middle of the page. Just make a straight line and then some branches popping out of it. I'm not focusing too much on the actual sketch because I just need it as a reference to know where to put the foliage on my painting. And then I scribble these random blotches of color on top of each branch. I make a taller tree towards the right side, and again just make random branches, color in the tree trunk, and add these little specks of color on top of each tree. I'm gonna go over them with my brush layer on, so I'm really not worried about coloring it thoroughly. I just squeeze my brush on a tissue, make sure it's clean, and then go over the sketches I just did. Just enough to activate the pencils and make them less of a scribble. And the same with the blue one, just go over it very quickly, make sure it's smoothed out, and then slightly go over the tree trunks where they're thicker on the bottom, and then randomly tap on the foliage. It's okay if there's some parts of the pencil markings left out that can peek through the painting. It just gives more texture and more depth, and like I've said, it's very useful for when you're painting nature-related scenery. Just tap on those random scribbles, make them darker, make them activate. Then I clean my brush thoroughly. It must be 100% clean. I take the tiniest amount of gouache and dilute it with 1 to 2 drops of clean water, and then I splatter it over the top of the left painting. I'm covering the rest with my hand so I don't have to clean it up later, and then I splatter it over on the right side. I realized it would be difficult to go around the trees, so I just thought I'd go over it completely and then clean up any splatters that have went on top with my napkin. I thought I'd freehand the crescent moon on the left side, but then why complicate things? So I just grabbed a coin and traced around it with the white watercolor pencil and painted it with the gouache. The reason I'm using the gouache, it's opaque, it's going to show up on the dark background, and watercolors are transparent, so they're just gonna faint away. With that, I sign my paintings and I slowly take off the tape in the opposite direction to avoid it from tearing up. If a tiny piece of paper does come up, I just apply a very small amount of water and press it back into the paper so it seals the fibers. A special thanks to my Patreon supporters. A special thanks to you guys for putting up with me. I hope you enjoyed this video and we'll see each other in the next one.